show today. Today is going to be a very special show for me today because I'm going to be preparing not only fast and easy recipes, but I'm going to be giving you the diabetic exchanges for them. Now let me give you a little disclaimer here. I am not a nutritionist and don't claim to be, but I do have a son who's been diabetic since he was 8.5. So better than half of his life he's been diabetic. So I do know a little bit about this, and it's always been a challenge to get him to eat fruits and vegetables, the things he needs to eat to keep his blood sugar in control. Vegetables he hates, fruits he hates, but he will eat vegetables in a soup, in a casserole he will eat them. So I am vegetable challenged when it comes to serving food to my son. But this is one of his favorite soups, and I'm going to prepare it for you. It's called Festive Soup. It's 4 cans. Don't blink or you're going to miss it. The recipe will be up at the end, but this is how it goes. You're going to take a large can of diced tomatoes. Now you can also use the diced tomatoes that have green chilies already in them. You have to buy, you spend more money buying the smaller cans with the chilies in them. I have not found a big can with the chilies in. But you can also control the spiciness if you do it this way, because I use just a can of chilies on its own. And it gives you a little more freedom of how spicy you want it. Now I like spicy, so I can add more or less if I want. I will add some jalapeno juice. So short of opening 4 cans, dumping them in the pot, this is a can of black beans, great protein. There's different brands on the market. I have not found one that's better than the other. It just, juice and all goes in. This is also a great vegetarian dish because it has no meat in it. This is the, let's see, this is one I use. This is, I think there's another one. Oh, I used that one. They come in different names, but you use 1 can of corn. And I'll have the ounces up at the end. I think this is an 11 ounce. You can use yellow corn, you can use white corn. Don't use cream corn. You do want to add the juice. This one is fresh packed, so it does not have a lot of juice in it. And then your can of chilies. You do need to have the chilies in there, and these are very mild. And it gives it a great look. Great smell to it. This serves 4. Depending on how hungry they are. Alright. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of water to my can to clean out the rest of the tomato juice. Spill it on the counter. And you can add a little bit more. There's probably about a 3/4 of a cup in there to a cup. And that gives you just a little bit more juice since my corn did not have any water in it. And you can use yellow corn, it doesn't matter. And one other thing that I like to add, and this is totally optional, is a little bit of jalapeno juice, because I do like it a little bit on the spicy side, a little bit of a kick to it. So I put a little bit of the juice from my jalapenos, maybe a tablespoon or 2. And this is ready. All you have to do is heat this through, and it's ready to serve. So I'm going to take it to the stove and let it heat up, and we're going to start with our next recipe. Before we get to our next recipe, I wanted to spend a little time with you on showing you what to buy when you go out and select a knife to use for your kitchen. Now, the term "you get what you pay for" is definitely true when it comes to certain things, and knives is one of those things. And I'm like you, I can't afford to buy a whole big huge set of knives for a couple $100. I could not do that, and most people can't. But I do buy good knives one at a time, and these I happen to buy when I go to visit my sister in Ohio, because there's a knife maker right there. I buy them, I take them back with me every couple times a year when I go back to visit, and they sharpen them for free for me, so I keep them very, very sharp. But when you buy a knife, you want to buy a knife that has the shank all the way through the handle and that has bolts going straight through. This is a good knife because then it's not going to come loose in your hand. The handle is not going to go anywhere. I'll demonstrate with this little dollar knife. Comes apart. It's garbage. Like I say, you're going to get what you pay for, and this is what's going to cause accidents, because if you're trying to cut something hard, it's going to come loose. You're going to end up cutting yourself. This is another one I think I paid 50 cents for. It's very flexible, and it will slip. This is a knife that I've had for years. I probably got this as a wedding gift. My husband used it as a screwdriver. Broke the tip off. Don't let him use your good knives as a screwdriver. This does not have the shank going all the way through, but it is bolted. It is a little bit better, but not as good as the metal going all the way through and supporting, so it won't slip. One thing that you should consider when you get good knives, they have a wooden handle, do not put them in the dishwasher. Wash them by hand, because it deteriorates the wood like this. It splits it, it dries it out, and then they deteriorate much quicker for you. These are different types of knives that you might want to use. I have several different types of paring knives. It's for short little work, potatoes, tomatoes, apples. This is a little bit longer and thinner. This is a boning knife. It's for getting in corners. You can also, it's very similar to a fillet knife, but not quite as thick. I don't have that knife yet. This is a serrated, cannot be sharpened, but it stays very sharp. I use this for bread, things that are soft and squishy, something you want to saw, tomatoes that you don't want to squish down. These are both chef's knives. One is just longer than the other. This is used in a rocking motion to chop, cut up a lot of stuff very quickly, as long as you don't get your fingers underneath there. I've never ever cut myself with a knife, knock on wood. However, yesterday I cut myself on a tape dispenser. Now how brilliant was that? So keep your knives sharp. The sharper your knives, the easier you are. You're not going to have to force something that you're cutting. If you're using a dull knife, you're going to be forcing it through and it's going to slip and you're going to cut yourself. So keep your knives as sharp as possible. So with that little knife lesson today, we're going to continue with our next recipe, which is tomato bread. Now, I was in a restaurant not too long ago with my aunt and had this tomato bread, and I knew I could make it. It was just so simple, but it was so good. And it was just some French bread, and I'm using the serrated knife, and I'm just going to cut this in half. I'm going to cut it all the way through so that it's halved. And I'm going to put, this is Italian dressing, and this is house dressing, and it's probably my favorite one to use because it is just loaded with herbs and spices. Some of the ones that you find on the market, all you see is oil and vinegar and very little spices, but this has got, and this is the kind of top you want, the little hole that pours, you know, kind of slowly, that you don't want it to come out too fast because you don't want this drenched. You just want a little bit of the flavor on there. This is almost like a vegetarian pizza. I'm just going to spread that around a little bit and get it all even. And let that sit in there. while I cut up some tomatoes. Now, you can use any size tomatoes. I just happened to buy cherry tomatoes because they were on sale, and I thought, well, these just as easy to slice these, because you want them so that when you bite into them, you don't have a whole big huge slice coming off. And these are almost bite-sized. So you can use a regular tomato if you want, and put, you know, just dice it however you want. The Rome tomatoes would be really good. They have a great flavor to them. So this is just going to go on there. Boy, that vinegar feels great in that cut. Vinegar and lemon juice. And this is going to go into an oven set at 350 degrees. And it's going to bake. Now I'm just going to do one for now, one side. It's going to go on a pan. Clean this up so that doesn't go in the oven with it. This is going to go in the oven. We're going to put some mozzarella cheese on it. And it's only going to go in the oven long enough for the cheese to melt. So the tomatoes are not going to be hot. You know how if you bite into hot tomatoes, it will burn you, they stick to you. So these are not going to be hot. So I would recommend that you use them at room temperature so that they don't stay completely cold. Try and get all that up there. And I'm going to sprinkle this with a little dried parsley. You could also use some Italian seasoning if you want. You could use some fresh parsley if you'd like. Just makes it look nice. But with that house dressing, it has great seasoning, great spice to it. Well, we can just put a little bit on there. Spice it up a little bit. And we're going to pop this into the oven. Maybe 10 minutes, just until the cheese is melted, and it's going to be ready to eat. This has been in the oven for about, not quite 10 minutes. And if you want to leave it in there a little bit longer, you can. The cheese is just melted. I'm going to take it off, and the bread is nice and crispy. This way, so since it's leaning away, and you can cut it into individual portions. This makes a great meal by itself. It also makes a great hors d'oeuvre. This tastes great. Ooh, that's yummy. Now, one thing that I wanted to tell you about the knives. When you're storing your knives, I have a metal strip that's connected to my cabinet wall, and they just hook to the metal, and I put the largest one in the back so that I'm not reaching across taller ones to get a smaller one, instead of shoving them in a drawer, because in a drawer you're hitting other stuff and they will tend to nick them up. So if you have the opportunity to get, it's just a little inexpensive magnet that's made just for putting knives up. So our soup is heated. It doesn't take about 5 or 10 minutes to heat it up. Now the exchanges on this is 2½ starch and ½ vegetable. It's only got 2 grams of fat, which is great. I think your fat content should be less than 30 per day is what the recommended is. Now, if you serve this with chips, and you can serve it with cheese, And you can also serve it with some sour cream to garnish it, and maybe some black olives. But you will have to change your diabetic exchanges to compensate for the cheese and the sour cream, because that's going to add more fat and your dairy. So if you do not know what exchanges you are supposed to have in your diabetic diet, you need to consult with your physician or a nutritionist that can assign you, for your body type, for your age, what your intake, what your numbers should be. So make sure you take care of yourself and try and keep your blood sugars at the correct levels, because it just can do so much damage to your body, to just all different parts of your body. So this is a great soup that you can throw together like that. This is something now that I keep all the cans on hand, so when my son is hungry, I can throw it together and it's ready in 5 minutes. I wanted to take the time to read you one of the emails that I've gotten recently on one of the more recent shows that I did, and this is from Julie in Milton. Thank you, Julie, for emailing me. And she writes, I watched your show on 316 and thought about Above Dish, about how scrumptious it looked. Being 8 months pregnant, I did not have the ambition or time to hop up and get a paper and pen when the recipe came up on the screen. Is there any way you could email it to me? I was glad to do that. She says, thanks, Julie, and she is from Milton. I enjoy watching your show whenever I get a chance to watch it. And I emailed her and thanked her, and then she emailed me back about a week later. It says, I made the recipe today for my parents, and it was to die for. It was the pecan chicken she was talking about. And she said, thanks again. So thank you, Julie, for emailing me and letting me know. It's great to get feedback from you when you try the recipes. Makes me know that you're actually out there watching. I don't get to see you unless you stop me on the street. And I wouldn't mind that either. So keep cooking, keep sharing your recipes, and share your recipes with me. Send me some that you think are quick and easy that I could in turn share back with the rest of the community. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Treats him like a toy. Again occur, never this way. It's a month we all will share. The hopes and fear we've had this year, they're not going anywhere. You'll be okay, not going away. Don't cry your days away, 'cause whenever you're lost, you'll find it. Your life is long, believe it. You'll be around for another day. Please come back to the summer rain. now that I have found. The star falls down, a wish been made for the next time around. So until the end, we'll all stay strong till you close the door. On all the things you fell into, life is forever yours. You'll be okay, not going away. Don't cry your days away. 'Cause whenever you're lost, you'll find it. Your life is long, believe it. You'll be around.